So you went from there to owning and managing more than 1,000 multifamily units. What? Yeah, let's bridge the story. How did you get there?
Great question. Remember, I'm this 18-year-old kid with a real estate license. I'm commuting back and forth to my college, taking college credits, and I have a real estate license. And so, real estate license, as we all know, selling real estate is feast or famine, especially when you're like a young-looking 18-year-old in 1991 with interest rates like at 10 and a half on the average, right? And we were going through the first big recessionary period that was caused by the SNL scandal. So you had lots of foreclosures. At that time, the Cold War had pretty much ended. So there was a lot of layoffs in Southern California that were all defense industry related. And they all migrated into what we now call tech and biotech and all that stuff. So it was a rough climate to be in. And so, of course, I'm saving up commissions, feast and famine, paying for my way through college. The majority of what I ending up selling was multifamily, like 4-unit buildings. And why I did that was because I learned financing really quickly. FHA, 3.5% down. The maximum number of units you can buy is 4 with 3.5% down. So I made a practice of buying my own fourplex, living in 1 unit. Now I have rental property, and I'm closing deals, paying for my way through college. When a client would come to me, instead of like selling them a house, I would qualify them, and I go, oh, look, you got 15% down or 10% down. Let's take 3.5% of it, buy a fourplex first. You move in one of the units because you don't own a primary residence, and then in like 3 to 6 months, I'll sell you a house, because from a lender's perspective, it's an upgrade, and you can buy a house with 5% down. So I would maximize one client into 2 transactions a year, and then I started doing the loans behind them too. So I do the FHA loan, do an FHA purchase, and then do the 95% owner occupied, 5% down, and I'd take one client and do 4 transactions a year, right? And then I'd always start telling the client, hey, don't get attached to your fourplex. There's a thing called 1031 exchanges. I do it too. I'd run an algorithm so they could see, hey, when you buy a 4-unit building or any income property, which doesn't work for single family, right? Single family, it's always got a very low return. But the moment you start going 4 units and you raise the rents every couple of years, then the value goes up exponentially because you got this net operating income. So long story short, I'd say, hey, I'm going to sell you a fourplex, then I'm going to sell you a house. And they go, why in that order, right? Well, because if you buy a house, they won't believe you're going to live in the fourplex. But if you don't own a house and you buy a fourplex, it makes perfect sense. And then it's an upgrade, so it makes even more sense from a lender's standpoint that you move out of an apartment building and into a house. And now you got an income property that supplements the mortgage payment on your house. Relax, I did the same thing. I have this house, I have these fourplexes, and then I get to save my commissions. In your case, you should save your earned income, and then if you like investing, I'll go sell you more apartment buildings.
Yes.
That was my mantra.